waiting on the game, getting all the infos.
The room is called Joseki.
Yeah, I found the room. I just need the password. Stream is live, man.
Oh no, you're just streaming this this menu music?
Yeah, man.
They're gonna go crazy.
Super hype.
Only the menu music can prepare for the Seki fight.
Holy crap. We've already got a bunch of viewers. Look at that.
The people are hyped, dude.
Hype?
They can't contain it. They came for the menu music.
Dude, I can't tell you how much I hate this music.
That just means you haven't lost it yet. You stay into the void long enough, you'll learn to love it.
Oh man, I didn't even think about it whistling. I probably just killed a bunch of people's ears.
It was fine for me.
Hold on.
Alright, I'm in.
Alright, so we've got Joseki versus Kiseki, Scorpion versus Dragon. I actually haven't...
What?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say it's Joe versus Key in the Seki battle.
Seki. Yeah, actually, I'm a pretty big Scorpion player. I haven't played a whole lot of the Dragon matchup yet, so I'll be interested to see how this one goes.
I heard you're pretty okay at Scorpion.
Just, yeah, I'm okay at it. So I guess they both rolled 6.
Now they both rolled 8. Here we go.
We just get
They
this-
truly are each other's mirrors. That second
All right,
match.
so it looks like Joe gets the choice. This is something I don't know that a whole lot of people have talked about, but if you notice, one player has their provinces up, the other one has them down. I find it weird that people have different opinions on how that should go. I happen to agree with Kiseki personally. I like them up that way. Oh God, what'd they do?
Refresh. Rewinding time.
Yeah.
As for getting mulligans taken care of here. Yes, commentating. I am CJ, and with me is Shiro, the renowned Scorpion player, who will be providing a lot of the analysis tonight.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Bayushi Shiro on the Discord. My online handle, pretty much everywhere else, is White Liger. Um, yeah. I don't know about renowned, but I would say I'm a pretty decent Scorpion player.
The number one Scorpion player from
Number
our one data point.
number one, number one. I got a rose to that effect as well. All right, so I guess they're both going second. I'm not sure how that works, but they both seem to have 8 fate here, and we don't really know what Joseki chose, but I would assume he chose to go second, so Kiseki might have one extra. So many chats to take care of.
Shiro, chat is wondering how you got your Hatamoto
I got
at Gen Con.
my Hatamoto status by getting into the top 4, the same way that Reiga got it. So we were the only non-Hatamotos going into the top, and we both made it to the finals and got our Hatamoto that way. So, all right, so we got some interesting flips. Not any bomb characters from Koseki, but the or Kiseki. But Bayushi Liar is probably one of my favorite openers for sure, and the Illusionist is no slouch either. Joseki's got some pretty decent cards though. I think Adept is one of the better 2-drops in the game, so he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so what should the Dragon player be looking to do here against Scorpion? I know you know the Scorpion side a lot better.
Yeah, I would say that he should. He didn't get a great start for pressuring it this way, but his military side is going to be much better than Kiseki's, especially since Beishi Liars have got a dash in military. So getting the military pressure is usually pretty good. Though Investigator is a bomb card. He's amazing. Just getting the ability to get rid of the best card in your opponent's hand is super potent. So definitely not a bad one to bring out either.
It's also pretty valuable to be able to look at your opponent's hand.
Oh, absolutely. Having perfect
That
game,
information.
yeah, perfect game knowledge is always nice. So it looks like Kiseki's going with a 3-person start. Not too bad. I'm a little surprised he didn't put a Fate on the Illusionist as well, but not terribly. Scorpion's got a lot of cards that cost Fate, so going into the Fate phase with 2 Fate is certainly nice. Oh, the good old bid 5 on turn 1. Not exactly what I usually do, but it is pretty popular for Scorpion to do it that way. Turns on your Stronghold for pretty much the rest of the game, and several of your other cards that say be lower honor. So
Do you think that that gives up too much ground for trying to win via dishonor?
I do, absolutely. Especially since like Joseki bid 1, so now he's at 14 honor. Unless Joseki really makes some pretty bad missteps, I don't see him losing to dishonor this game. It is possible, but he's got to work for it if he's going to go that way. So he's pretty much locking himself into taking provinces. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I didn't realize Joseki did not put a Fate on either of his investigators either. So we're going with the Fate Light. So the board will reset at the end of this turn, which is interesting for the most part. Probably the biggest reason I don't like drawing that many cards, aside from the dishonor, though, is just like Kiseki has 9 cards in his hand, but I would be surprised if he can play even half of them. So it seems like a bit much to commit that hard without the ability to use them, right?
And it feels a little weird to commit that hard, knowing that your opponent is going to get a look at all of that this turn, when
Yes.
both of these investigators would be falling off after this turn.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely a good point too. Um, yeah, like I said, I would have figured he would have picked up either the Nithin Adept or the Miramoto Prodigy just because Kiseki only has one dude that can even participate in a military conflict showing. So the fact that he did the double investigator seems a bit odd to me in the first place, especially since he can't even he unless he puts them in individual conflicts, like one for his political and one for Kiseki's political. He's only going to get to use one in the first place. So, but it looks like Kiseki's doing a military with his one strength illusionist, and he hit the ancestral lands. So he's probably not going to break it if I had to guess, but he could if he goes unopposed. I can say that Earth is a definitely good choice here because he's got a pretty good hand advantage already. Um, so getting Joseki down to 4 cards and him up to 10 with one ring does feel pretty good. Um, I can say the other thing I forgot about it, but restoration and balance is something that you have to worry about against Dragon. So drawing that many cards, like if that ancestral lands was restoration of balance, I think that would feel really bad. So
Does Scorpion have a lot of ways to get this investigator off the board? If Joseki would have opted for putting a couple fate on one investigator and getting out like the Nit and Adept instead of going for the two investigator play at the beginning?
Um, not really, though. I guess something that Joseki might have been worried about is potentially the assassinate, because obviously Niten Adept is a pretty big assassinate target. Outside of that, I can swim. So if he did put fate on the investigator, and then he dishonored it, he could have spent the 2 fate he does have to kill an investigator. So um, that is certainly something to think about. And I'm sure if he's bidding 5, he probably, if he's running I Can Swim, which he most likely is, he has it in his hand. Um, so it's possible that that's something that Joseki was playing around by. He's playing around both I Can Swim by not putting Fate on, and then playing around Assassinate by not playing his 2 cost guys. Um, but I don't know. I think that keeping at least one dude around for one turn would have been nice. Oh, it looks like Joseki skipped his first ability to make a conflict. Um, he also
Well, yeah,
didn't. He also didn't defend, so he should have lost an unopposed honor on the first conflict. I don't know if they just missed that or what, but so he's doing Kiseki's doing a political conflict with his Bayushi Liar solo because he doesn't have a choice, and it looks like Kiseki is doing or Joseki is doing the investigator, so he gets to see this nice 10 card hand and get rid of the best card. So
it looks like he also lost Sashimono on the discard from the conflict.
yeah, that can definitely be rough. Phoenix Splash is interesting, especially bidding 5 turn 1. The Seeker of Knowledge is very good for the dishonor strategy, but he's very clearly not going for that strategy. At least it doesn't seem to be. So that's an interesting choice to go for the Phoenix play and then give up on the dishonor like that. I have to say, this is a pretty tough choice for Joseki here. There's a lot of good cards in that hand.
No, I Can Swim though.
No swimming lessons, so he doesn't have to worry about that this turn. But he does have the assassinate, so I guess it was a good thing he didn't buy a 2 drop. Um, though, if he did buy the 2 drop, Kiseki would be down to 4 honor if he actually played the assassinate. Which, I mean, even against Dragon, 4 honor is pretty precarious. So personally, if I was Joseki, I would probably do the calling in favors. Just because calling in favors is such a swingy card, it's very powerful, and it also you want your attachments as dragon. Like you get a lot of benefits from your attachments. So um, that's where my mind goes immediately as the dragon player.
I'm asking Okay, I was asking in chat. I was asking Rego if we should comment on the honor loss from the unopposed.
Yeah, I mean, it might
Yeah,
be something that we want to bring up, but
he said it's fine that
okay.
it should be self-policing.
Yeah, and I agree with that to some degree. I doubt that it'll matter much. Like, I very highly doubt that Joseki's going to ever get down to 13 honor anyway, but it is good to have them be self-policing. I can definitely understand why he's having such a hard time here. Um, so it looks like he went with the Forged Edict. Also a very strong card, so I don't blame him there. Forged Edict can be very powerful. Especially with the Bayushi Liar being a zero glory courtier, it gives him immediate access to the Forged Edict without very much cost at all. So he's doing the court games to dishonor that. I mean, it's perfectly fine. I think he's got 2 glory on that guy. Yeah, so he's down to 1, and with the Sinister Soshi, he'll go down to 0. Um, we didn't see any force pumps for the Bayushi Liar though, so he's not going to take this province either way. So it seems weird to me that he would dishonor instead of just using the Soshi. Maybe he plans on using the Soshi on his defense instead.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Let's see, which ring did he put the fate on? Air. Air. I agree that air is not a terribly tempting ring in this match, unlike most Scorpion matches, because he's at 14 honor, so he's not going to get a whole lot from doing air. So I can agree with that. That's another thing to think about when you're playing as Dragon, what ring to put your fate on. Um, Water is usually my favorite, but
You you also bait him a little bit, right? As keeper of the air.
yes, you do. They're keeper of void though, so
Oh, are they?
yeah,
Yeah, I was
Dragon's
looking off
keeper
to
of
the
void.
side. The
So
air's sitting up there.
so no matter how much fate is on void, even if you put 2 on it, I don't know that he would be that tempted by it. Um, Here we see the Miyamoto's Fury. It is in the wrong discard pile, but it is absolutely one of the stronger cards in the game. It's is very powerful. Oh man, there's a lot of Scorpion hate going on in the chat right now. And I don't blame them. They can be fairly NPE.
This Seeker of Knowledge is going to be interesting here.
Yeah, I don't
He
see him committing to the air ring at all.
No, he
But
chooses to resolve water if he wins here, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, just so he can bow the other investigator. So not a terribly impactful turn considering. At least it looks to me like Kiseki is definitely on the breaking provinces plan, but he didn't break a single province. Granted, he didn't lose one either, um, but it doesn't feel great to not break a province when that's the plan you're on.
Yeah, for not having a whole lot accomplished this turn, other than getting information
Yeah.
for Joseki, it wasn't bad.
No, no,
He's
not
not
at
on a
all. Yeah.
stack foot.
No, he's in a relatively good position still. He's got some decent characters, though he knows Kiseki has the assassinate now, so he probably won't invest fate on them if he buys them at all. Um, of course, he might if he wants to bait out that assassinate, since Kiseki's down to 7 honor. Um, that's something that I did quite a lot during the tournament, baiting out assassinates. Granted, I was playing Scorpion, so I had a little bit more leeway to make that last honor loss go. But
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the dials come out. I gotta imagine Scorpion sticks with one for a while.
yeah, if he bids, I could see maybe a 2 or a 3 if he really wanted to try and push the I can swim mentality. But considering Joseki saw every card but 2 in his hand now since he drew 2 after that, the likelihood that he's got an I can swim is relatively low. Um, I'll be a little surprised if he keeps both of those, and he did. Wow, that seems a bit. I would have probably gotten rid of the Prodigy myself, but it's not bad, for sure. Uh, Oh man, Kiseki got an interesting flip. I don't know that it's necessarily good. Getting two of a unique is always nice. Getting a free fate on there is pretty great. Um, I'll be interested to see what kind of fate investment Joseki does into these two drops, considering he knows Kiseki has an assassinate though.
Yeah, I wonder if you just try to bait it out,
I
get it out
think
of hand.
I think that's absolutely something you can try to do. Like I said, as a Scorpion player, I did it a lot at Gen Con. It was one of my favorite things to do. Is like make a two drop just juicy enough to get there, um, not lose too much at the same time. I'll be interested to see if he puts any fate on this Niten Adept. I don't think he will, but yeah. He's trying to not lose too much of an investment. I would have probably put one on the Miyamoto Prodigy just to try and bait it to be a little more juicy than the Niten Adept, because I think the Niten Adept has a lot more value to it. But I'm not
Yeah.
terribly surprised that he didn't do it on either. Yep, and there's the pass
Well,
from Joseki. No reason to buy the Keeper Initiate. Oh, that's surprising. Kiseki opted to keep the Fate for his expensive hand instead of getting a Keeper or Seeker Initiate, rather.
Riga is asking if you can hover over the drops
Oh, absolutely.
when they come out because they're kind of hard to see.
Yeah. So Kiseki got Yunako, one of the better four drops in my opinion. I think both of the Scorpion four drops are fantastic. I think she's actually worse than the other one. And then we have Niten Adept. He's probably, in my opinion, the best two drop outside of Unicorn's uh, Border Outrider. He bows anything that doesn't have an attachment if he just bows an attachment himself. And then the Miyamoto Prodigy is just a well statted two drop with an sometimes relevant ability. And I think I can zoom in a little bit here to help with visibility. So Joseki still has 4 cards in hand and is outnumbered by quite a bit. I think Kiseki has 10 cards, it looks like. So
Yeah, so the tough thing here is I think Joseki's going to want to go for a Void Conflict to get the Fate off the Yunako and get his Keeper into play.
yeah, I think he does too.
But
He
but
is
that's it's going to be awkward no matter how he goes for it.
no, absolutely. He's definitely in a tough position here because the Sinister Soshi is going to basically make the raw stats of either of those guys 0, and then Yunako is just a big military force by herself. And if he decides to go political to kind of usurp that, she just switches her own stats. So it's he's definitely in a rough position here just because his flop was not great. But I do agree that I think Void is still where he wants to go. I think if he can actually successfully pull off the Void challenge, he'll actually be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I agree.
Looks like he's going for the air, maybe to do some honor pressure on Kiseki, and probably also to gain that fate, so that if he flips some pretty bomb drops next turn, he's got the fate to play them, which is always nice. All right, so we get the
Let's see what he hit.
first blood. I actually do like attacking with just one of the two guys here because it might bait Kiseki into not defending and just using the Sinister Soshi to blank them. And then if Joseki's got like an attachment, he can get at least a free ring out of it. We do see a Shameful Display, so that baits Kiseki into defending again, but then he won't have an attacker or a defender for the follow-up with Niten Adept. So it looks like he's still choosing to do the no defender. Um, Oh, he almost forgot his stronghold there. I wonder if he did that during the conflict as his first action, or if he did it probably pre-conflict, if I had to guess. Yep, so here he's activating the Sinister Soshi, so the Miyamoto Prodigy is now a 0-0, which doesn't feel great, but I have to imagine Joseki probably has something to make it feel a little bit better. He could also just be baiting out the Sinister Soshi and not worry about it. Let the air ring go back because he was just gating it for the fate.
Yep.
That's what he chose to do. He was just hoping that Yunako would defend probably, so he could get a free conflict in with his adept.
Yeah, you have to be pretty scared of what the Prodigy could do solo to commit Yunako.
The only problem I see with this plan is that Joseki knows that Kiseki's got Assassinate in his hand, so his Niten Adept, if it gets anywhere, like if it's going to do anything impactful, like he can just Assassinate it off the board. Um, so Yunako is solo breaking that province, which is very relevant, so Joseki will have to spend something to stop it, um, which is always rough when you're down to 4 cards.
But he is going to get an uncontested void, right?
He can, but like I said, he knows that Kiseki's got an Assassinate in his hand. So
Oh
unless
yeah,
he's
that's
got
true.
something, the Niten Adept, like if he goes for the Void with his Niten Adept, he probably just gets assassinated. So yeah, I'm not terribly surprised by the defense here, especially since Earthring is pretty devastating when you're down to 4 cards already. The only other problem is, so right here he's playing Kitsuki Method. I would not be surprised if we see the calling in favors from Kiseki here that we saw from the earlier turn. There is some merit to actually calling in the favor on the Sinister Soshi just to get it off the board and not have Yunako go down to Dishonored. Her being, or he's just going to straight out Assassinate right out the gate. He's not even going to bother with the attachment. That's certainly one other way to deal with it, though. Joseki gets the Kitsuki Method back, but he's looking in pretty dire straits here from an unopposed Earth challenge that's going to break the province.
Let's see what he loses on the discard. Hopefully, it's not as painful as losing the Sashimono.
Aleko's not terrible. The only real problem attachment that Scorpion has that you really want to get rid of for sure is poison, which he does know he has, so it might hurt later on. But I think of the cards that will help him get back into the game, I don't think Let Go is necessarily that high impact for that specific purpose.
Well, I was under the impression that all dragons, half of their deck was just let go.
I mean, it would certainly be nice for Dragon if that was the case. Except against Dragon, then it would be awful. So, Joseki's province got broken, and it did get it got a Keeper Monk discarded, which is actually pretty good. So he's not going to see a Keeper Monk in his province next turn. So he's got 6 fate going into this turn. He's got potential to just load up some giant dude here, which would be really nice if he gets something like Yukuni. He could have a Yukuni that lasts the rest of the game if he sees it. Let's see what the fate on the rings looks like. So we've got 2 fate on fire and void, 1 fate on air and water. So we've got pretty low conflict resolution going on here with I think it was only 1 or 2 rings on turn 1 and 1 ring on turn 2. So that's pretty big.
So if you're Joseki here, depending on this flop, are you thinking about bidding a little more on honor just to try to get some cards in hand?
I mean, if he wants to keep up the honor pressure, I don't think he does. But to be honest, with how low his hand is and that flip was not spectacular, I wouldn't be surprised to see him bidding 3 or 4 here. Oh, and a Shoju shows up. That is certainly not looking good for Joseki. Shoju, in my opinion, is the strongest clan champion. I have no qualms with calling that out. A lot of people will disagree with me that Sukune is better, but
I got a home field advantage here, folks. Got bias in the commentation. The Seeker of Enlightenment is looking mighty juicy right now,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, she is. I could see a pretty powerful military stance coming in from her. She's gonna be a 7/7, just right out the first one if he does an air, or Earth rather. Which Earth is looking pretty juicy for him too, because his hand is so low. Um,
Kiseki has the back-breaking assassination top deck, though.
he does. He could have drawn it. At this point, Kiseki I think has 4 cards that Joseki doesn't know. It's totally reasonable that one of those is an assassinate. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kiseki actually get the passing fate here this turn, though. He'll probably pass after this Beishi Liar. And I don't think that Joseki is in a position where he can try to pass to not have that happen. Um,
Hopefully, we see some fate come out on this Knitting Master.
yeah,
There we go. There we
as
go.
I'd say, he should really be putting something on it.
One.
It's about time. I I'd have put 2 personally. Oh, there he
Oh, there
goes.
he goes. There he goes. He heard us.
He hurt us through the brainwaves. Like I said, I won't be terribly surprised if they both do a bid 1, but I think Joseki probably needs the cards. He'll probably go with a 2 or 3, maybe. Oh no, he's
Being
going for the
disciplined.
1. He's going.
Being disciplined.
He's doing it. If he could actually get a void here, he gets 3 keeper initiates out of it and 1 less turn of shoju. That feels super good. So, um, like if Kiseki attacks pretty nonchalantly and doesn't have good defenders for the void, or doesn't do void himself, I guess. Joseki could have a pretty good turn here.
It's got it. Kiseki going for the void is not a bad play here
Oh, absolutely
because
not.
it clears 2 fate for the Seeker,
Yeah,
and it can get rid of one of the fate on the Knitting Master, and gives you a little more control. So hopefully you don't see 3 keeper initiates coming out.
yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely some juicy reasons for Kiseki to go for void here. So I wouldn't be surprised, but if he doesn't, I feel like Joseki pretty much has to all in on the void just to try and get back in. The favorable grounds is certainly not looking good for Joseki though. Something that Kiseki can do is he can overcommit on the first attack and then just favorable ground home when he figures out he doesn't need something like Shoju, for instance. If he sends like Soju and Bayushi Liar, the likelihood that Joseki defends at all is pretty low. And then he's just like, all right, I'll just have the Bayushi Liar win it for me then. Um,
Yep, here
so
we go.
here comes the void. I would be pretty tempted as Joseki, as hard as it looks with Shoju and a Bayushi Liar being 10 political strength. I would be tempted to try and defend this as best I could. Let's see what the province is here. Oh, Manicure Gardens is not so great when you already have 4 fate, but yeah, the chat actually pointed out like Restoration of Balance is still a card that exists. It's still out there. That would be pretty nice for Joseki if Kiseki hit it, for sure. I guess I'm not doing a very good job of showing everybody the cards that are coming out. Um, this turn, Kiseki bought Shoju, the clan champion for Scorpion. He's fantastic with a total of 10 stats, being 3 military, 7 political, 2 glory. The low glory is actually pretty good for him because we've got a lot of stuff that dishonors our own guys. And he's got the highest kill potential of any character in the game. His ability is during a political conflict, you just give a guy -1 political. If they ever hit 0 during the rest of the conflict, they just die. So, pretty potent. And it looks like Joseki is going to go for the all-out defense to try and claim the Void Ring, which I don't blame him. I think it'll be pretty tough to do, but he's putting up an effort. He's already higher skill. So there we see a Shoju tick. We also know that Kiseki has a Fiery Madness in his hand. At least I believe it hasn't been discarded. So Joseki has to do something to get his Niten Master above the 2 political strength that he currently is. Because like I said, if he goes down to 0, I expect to see the Fiery Madness here to kill the Neaton Master, and I unfortunately think that that'll be the proverbial nail in a coffin. Um, that is very unfortunate. I don't know if Joseki just didn't have anything for that, or if he just forgot about the Fiery Madness. It was a long time ago when he saw his hand, so that is certainly unfortunate.
That's a huge, huge swing.
Yeah, Joseki's been kind of on a back foot for most of the game, so it's pretty tough. Um, he's still got a decent amount of political skill. I find it pretty unrealistic that he'll win this at this point, though. Um, yeah, this is pretty rough. We do know that he's got a Kitsuki method in his hand, but Kiseki also has a calling in favor, so he actually would have needed two political pumps or just two attachments really, because his stronghold can also buff a guy as well. But here comes the Way of the Scorpion to dishonor one of the two. Looks like probably the Seeker of Enlightenment. It's not terribly relevant, but because both these characters have. Oh no, the Doom Shinja does have one. Um, oh, he's force shaming it. So since he's already dishonored, for shame is target a guy, either bow him or dishonor him. Since he was already dishonored, he can't choose that option anymore. Um,
But they're ready for battle, pulling that right back.
yeah, ready for battle is a good reason for Dragon to splash Lion specifically. Between ready for battle, honored blade, and Sashimono, it's definitely a pretty strong splash for them.
So here we're just seeing the card advantage really playing into
Yeah.
Kiseki's favor with this all in.
All right, so it looks like Kiseki did get another Forged Edict, which is just dishonor one courtier to cancel an action to cancel the ready for battle that Joseki had. So Joseki's down to 3 to Kiseki's 10 political might. So this province is most likely going down. I can't see much of anything coming out of Joseki to stop it. Um, he's got the Kitsuki's method still, plus his stronghold would stop it. But if Kiseki had anything else, it wouldn't go. So it looks like he just passes here to let the province break.
So we're down. We've broken 2 provinces now.
Yep,
2 to 0.
2 to 0. Yeah, and he might be able to take another one here because Yunako is 4 military, so unless he flips, unless he runs into like entrenched position, he'll probably break the next province as well. So Joseki is certainly looking to be in dire straits.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out after the fact if he just forgot that the Fiery Madness was in hand, because that was a huge, huge swing against Joseki.
Yeah, I would imagine so, just because it was a very long time ago. That was the beginning of turn 1. We're at the middle of turn 2, I guess. So it may not feel like that long ago, but we did start almost a half an hour ago, I think now. So
This was the middle of turn 3, I believe. Because we only had
you're right, correct?
2
Yes,
conflicts
because
and 1.
Kiseki was the first player going. So yeah, you're right. It's the middle of turn 3. So I would not blame him at all if he just forgot that that it was there. So it looks like pre-conflict, Joseki's playing a Tattooed Wanderer. I'm a little surprised not to see at least like one fate on him, just to have a character going into the next round. But I don't know. At this point, I think Joseki's just trying to trying to find something to grasp onto. He might just be playing it to defend, though he could have done that from hand in the conflict, so I'm a little surprised there. So it looks like he played it from hand, but he's passing his first conflict.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, because he could have just played it during the conflict if that's what his plan was. He could have just played it as a defender during the conflict, like after the attack was declared. So that was a little interesting. If I had to guess, Joseki's probably phoned it in, so he's not.
Tilted.
Yeah, he's not making the most optimal plays just because it does look pretty unfavorable for him here.
Yeah, I wondered if he was just gonna drop it out of hand and try to grab some fate, and then go full hog on the bid next turn and just try to recover something.
I mean, that's absolutely something that he could have tried to do. Like I said, when he had the not great turn one, but he ended the turn with like 4 or 5 fate, going up to 12. If you see some big characters, they're gonna last a while. So um, that's certainly something he could have tried to have gone for. Because Kiseki can't win this turn. He can't make the conflicts necessary to do it. Um, but like I said, I think at this point he's just trying to figure out what he can do, and it's hard. It's a rough place to be in. He does see the pilgrimage here, so if he is going to defend, he doesn't have to do it all out. He just has to do it enough to not break, and it is effectively the same as winning. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see the tattooed wanderer get in the way. I'll actually be a little surprised if we don't see it get in the way, honestly. But one free ring would be nice. Um, he could go for air for the one fate and the honor pressure, or earth to try and get some more cards. I could see either being fine. Water is useless unless he wants to try and grab the favor. No, it would just tie in favor, so that wouldn't change anything. And he doesn't have another conflict, so air and earth are his options. I would probably do earth in his situation if he doesn't defend. Um,
Yeah, that seems to be what he needs to try to get some cards into his hand to give him some options.
yeah. But I think the better choice, especially since it's a pilgrimage, his better choice is to try and defend and just try to keep out everything. But it looks like he went for the unopposed. Um, Kiseki will. I'm a little interested in Kiseki's choice for fire, just because his character's being honorable is not that great, and Joseki's got enough honor that the dishonor doesn't really matter. Looks like he actually forgot to resolve fire anyway. Um, oh, it looks like they forgot. Oh, he didn't resolve fire because they forgot about the favor. So they thought that Yunaka was only a 4 strength character going into pilgrimage. So he won the conflict, but he didn't. He forgot that he has the favor to go up to 5 to break the pilgrimage and claim the fire ring. Um,
Oh yeah.
that is an unfortunate miscalculation by Kiseki, but uh, it. To be honest, I don't know if it's enough for Joseki to get back in. But here comes the Earth Challenge, like we predicted. Certainly not a bad one to try and do. The Shameful Display, I believe, is what that province is. So, unless Kiseki can play a character from his hand, it's not going to activate. Joseki's got one card to try and pump one force. He could break his first province, so it'd certainly be something on the lines to getting back into the game. Actually, missing that province break for Kiseki is actually pretty big because it means in order to win next turn by breaking provinces, he'll have to break 2 instead of 1, which is pretty big considering Shoju is his only character sticking around till next turn. So Joseki might actually have a chance here if he can hold out next turn. If he can actually commit something to breaking this province, I think he might have a shot if he flips some good things next turn. He'll be going first and 3 keeper monks available to him. Certainly not the worst I've ever seen.
The tough part is even if he breaks here to win, he's gonna have to break 3 provinces,
No,
and
absolutely,
then
yes.
and then even if he holds through the turn, he'll be going first next turn. So the turn after that, Kiseki will have first,
Yeah.
and hope probably only need to break the stronghold.
Most likely, yeah. I agree that it still doesn't look good, but it I don't think it looks as dire as it could. Basically, purely because of that um, the miscalculation there.
We are going to see some honor loss come out from the undefended,
Yeah,
and now Bayoshi Liar will go away dishonored most likely.
yeah. So he's actually got some decent honor pressure still going. I'm actually a little surprised that that calling in favors doesn't come down on Yunako because Shoju almost purely wants to be in political conflicts. It does make some sense because it put him down to three honor if he dishonored Yunako here. But it looks like Kiseki is actually trying really hard not to lose his province. Um, I think he's trying a little bit harder than I would in his position, just because it's his first. But I totally understand. He's spending a lot of cards, and it looks like it'll probably work. But actually, no, it shouldn't, because if Joseki uses his stronghold, it'll actually negate the minus from Fiery Madness, because Fiery Madness itself is an attachment. So if Joseki uses his stronghold, he'll go back up to 3, and Kiseki will have to spend another card to have the province not break.
What if Joseki's going to see that?
So far, it looks like he's not, which is unfortunate for him. But he totally has the province here still without spending a card from his hand. Um, I hope for his sake he'll see it, because it is kind of
spending
important.
spending the card from his hand.
Yes, the card also. Yeah.
Not something you want to do.
All right. Looks like. Oh,
Uh,
so he recognizes that he needed 2 attachments, but he didn't recognize that Fiery Madness itself is an attachment. Oh, and we see the display of power come out on the earth. That is, I mean, I guess for Joseki, that's actually a good thing that he played out the Kitsuki method. But he still didn't use his stronghold. I wonder, did he play the Kitsuki method just because of display of power, maybe? So he wouldn't have to discard it, I guess? Oh, looks like they might be recalculating with the stronghold here. Um,
shouldn't matter because he's gonna lose it. I guess he gets his fate back.
no, what they're recalculating is that the province actually broke.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it's actually interesting playing out the Katsuki method. I don't know if he did it because he didn't realize Fiery Madness would count for a stronghold or what, but playing it out actually saves him the 1 card because Display of Power took the Earth Ring, so he would have had to have discarded the Katsuki method anyway. So it's actually better for him that he played it, um, interestingly enough.
Yeah, because it will return to hand because of the ancestral
Yep.
keyword. We're gonna
So
pretend that it was calculated.
calculated according to plan. Um, so Kiseki's down to 4 honor. That's not a great place to be in. Obviously, he's got pretty good hold on the provinces though, so that's certainly not great. But if Joseki sees a decent flip here and and actually do a void challenge to get Shoju off the board for next turn, um, we could actually see a turnaround here potentially. Um, it'll be interesting to see if he can actually pull off a void challenge to get Shoju gone for next turn, survive this turn, get a decent drop. I could see Joseki actually pulling this out potentially.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There is a chance
That's
that
what the people at home want to see. The people at home want to see Scorpions broken.
they do. They do. Um, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've got 2 on the air and 2 on water. Um, the air is actually also pretty juicy for Joseki just because of how low Kiseki's honor is. With 2 fate, that's certainly not bad. Though, if Joseki does... Oh, and there's a Yukuni. Um, he's the Dragon Clan champion. 5/5 with the ability to copy any person on the table is certainly very powerful. And with the Dishonored Shoju going down to 5, if Yukuni actually copies his ability, they're pretty evenly matched in political strength, which is good for Joseki, though I still wouldn't put them in front of each other personally, if it was Joseki's choice. Um, oh man, Kiseki's flip is not terribly great. Toma Courtiers are not that strong. He does have the favor, so they can still attack, so it's not the worst. Um, and then favored niece. I actually don't personally care for favored niece that much, mostly just because her stats aren't that great. But she's a character that is better than the Atoma Courtiers, I guess. Yep, here comes the Yukuni. I'm not surprised by that at all. I would be surprised if you put more than one fate on it just because of how low he is on fate. But
Yeah, he has to be careful with the initiates if he puts them into play because of Shoju.
oh, absolutely, yeah. The initiates do die to Shoju in one action, so
Yeah, before they can get their action off.
it's he definitely doesn't want to. He wants to keep them out of the way of Shoju. So I imagine Shoju will probably see an unopposed. If I had to guess, if Shoju doesn't defend, which usually he doesn't, he'll probably take the pilgrimage by himself. Um, just because that's how Shoju rolls, it would seem most of the time. Joseki actually has another interesting option to target his ability with. The If he can get a fate, the Tagashi Initiate honoring Yukuni. So like if Yukuni copies the Tagashi Initiate's ability, pays
Yeah.
a fate to a ring to honor himself, he'll become an 8/8, which is quite the force to be reckoned with. Um, so I'll be interested to see what Joseki does. I'll be very surprised to see anything but a void challenge here. Um, I would personally do if I was him. Oh, we've got a bid first. I can't imagine anything but a 1 from Kiseki, and then maybe a 3 from. Oh no, he's still going for the 1. He's very disciplined, which might be the right call. Not giving Kiseki the honor is probably good at this point. Um,
Yeah, I think he's using that as an out. The void here, though, if he goes void first, yes, he can get those keepers out, but it limits his plays because he's playing from zero fate.
Yeah, he's definitely the Void Ring not having any fate on it is pretty detrimental to him here. But I think just having the bodies and then having the bodies for next turn, and like I said, Shoju. So if he can pull out the keepers, they'll probably be able to defend against everything but Shoju. So the likelihood that Kiseki brings out the game at this turn is probably low if I had to guess. And if Joseki successfully pulls off the Void, the board will go at the end of the turn, the board will most likely be Yakuni plus 3 keepers versus Kiseki's Rumor Monger by himself. So that's a pretty big board state change. That is the reason why I thought that Joseki might have a chance still. Just that's a huge swing in the board. Um, he will be down 3 provinces to 1 in that case. Maybe he'll have taken the second one with his first conflict here as the Void. Um, but yeah, no, this is actually a very interesting board state to have, really.
Yeah, it's still a very much uphill battle for Joseki, but we can see some daylight.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some daylight here. Especially since this void challenge is something that Kiseki really wants to defend if Joseki makes it, for pretty much all the reasons we said. If Kiseki's actually able to defend it in the first place, then all those things I just said aren't true anymore, and that puts Kiseki in a really good spot. Um, oh, we see the ambush. He's using favored niece to discard the ambush and an assassinate. Yeah, he can't play the assassinate because he's at 5 honors. So that makes sense. And the ambush clearly doesn't work on the Atoma Courtiers. Ambush is a 3 cost event that says target up to 2 Scorpion players from your or Scorpion characters from your hand and provinces and put them into play. So he doesn't have any targets for that, and the assassinate just costs too much honor at this point. So I'll be surprised if we see anything but a military challenge out of Joseki here, just because Shoju is such a monster in political. So yep, here comes the void, um, and there's the military. Um, he has to pray to not hit like an elemental fury. That would be pretty devastating here. Um, I'm a little surprised not to see the Niten Adept, but if he doesn't have any low cost attachments, it makes sense. Oh, the secret cache that can
Or
be potentially devastating.
no cost attachments at this point. Do you think there's any benefit here if you're Joseki for like poking with a Neaten Adept into air or water to get the 2 fate to allow you a strong defense on the Void, or is it too dangerous having Shoju come in political on Void for you capturing that ring and getting your keepers out?
I think it's too dangerous because if you don't do the void here and then Kiseki does the void in return because he doesn't need the fate, you lose Yakuni. You're going into a 0 board state next turn, and he still has Shoju and a Rumor Monger, which would just be absolutely devastating. Especially since Kiseki would be going first next turn. So it looks like Kiseki is going to put up a defense with Favored Niece by herself. So she is a total of 3 strength to his total of 6 currently with Yakuni and the Tagashi Initiate. I don't believe he's copied an ability with the Tagashi with Yakuni yet, so it'll be interesting to see what he copies here. Unfortunately, none of the abilities seem terribly relevant as he doesn't have any fate. Maybe the Favored Niece to try and dig for an answer would probably not be bad. That is brutal. Way of the Scorpion dishonoring Yakuni, bringing him down to a mere 2-2. So he is still winning the conflict, but if Kiseki has any cards at all, he can pull it out. And considering Joseki doesn't have very much of anything, it looks like to be pretty hard for him to defend or win this conflict still. So we do
That
see.
one hurts a
Oh,
lot.
that is his third Fiery Madness. So Tagashi is now a 0-0, which is pretty awful.
At least Shoju's not in there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Though it is military, so Shoju wouldn't be able to use his
Oh,
ability.
that's
But
true.
yeah, no,
That's
it
in a
would be
giant
it
political
would be pretty
conflict.
rough beats. All right, so here comes the Daimyo's favor, and we do know that he's got a Kitsuki method in his hand. So unless Kiseki has an answer for the Daimyo's favor, oh, he's gonna copy the Niten Adept to bow the favorable or the favored niece. That's quite good. I hope he realizes that he can bow the Fiery Madness instead of the Daimyo's favor, though. That will be that would be actually really useful to bow the card that is purely detrimental to him. Oh, and it doesn't end up mattering here as he pulls out the outwit to send Yakuni home, which is very unfortunate. Um, Oh, actually, the chat is pointing out to me he does not control the madness, so he probably can't. Yeah, so he can't actually bow it. So that's true. Thank you, chat. I was wrong. But he still could have
You
bowed the favor to put another attachment because we know he's got a Kitsuki method. Put the Kitsuki method on and bow the Kitsuki method instead of bowing the Daimyo's favor for nothing.
Togashi, the reason he cannot bow the Fire Madness is because Knit and Adept, yeah, it reads bow a
Yeah.
friendly attachment.
So it's not bow an attachment on the character. Friendly specifically means you control it. And despite the fact the Fiery Madness is on his character, it is still controlled by Kiseki. So yeah, this looks like that was a pretty brutal thing for Joseki there. Though not to be necessarily unexpected, considering Kiseki still had a bunch of cards. So yeah, it looks like he's going to get that Void Ring, which is very unfortunate for Joseki.
So what's our takeaway from this? Like seeing all of these conflicts just go. Oh, he's calling GG. So what's our takeaway? Seeing all these conflicts go south for Dragon against Scorpion, is Scorpion just that good, or when Scorpion gets like a 5 card advantage on you, is it just such a deep hole?
Yeah, I don't know. That was certainly an interesting game. I think there could have been a couple of different decisions. Like I said, um, at the very beginning, my opening comment for Joseki was to try and take advantage of the lack of military strength that Kiseki had. Um, so, and he didn't do that, which I was a little surprised at. I think there was a little bit of that. Focusing on the Earth Ring for Joseki might have been something else that would have been nice because he was so low on cards. Um, those are my immediate thoughts as for something he could have done differently. As far as Scorpion goes, Kiseki just had a lot of answers, and he saw a lot of good characters. Seeing Yunako on turn two Yunakos on turn one was pretty big. Um, so I don't think the takeaway here is that Scorpion is unbeatable. I fully think if he would have actually been able to pull off that Void Challenge there, like I'm a little surprised he didn't go all in on it with the Niten Adept too. Because if I think the Niten Adept was in there, I don't know um, what Kiseki could have done. Let's actually take a look at Kiseki's hand just to see what. Or actually, I guess I'm not promoted. I can't do it. Oh well. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. I think Joseki had a real shot here if he'd have seen, on top of everything else, a better flip on turn two. His turn two flip was pretty poor. Um, but yeah, no. That all being said, Scorpion is very strong. But playing as them and as against them are both very hard things to do. So it's something you'll have to practice. Also, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure Joseki is normally a Crane player. So
Yeah, he said in chat this was his first time playing Dragon, despite having played 60 plus games of L5R.
well, there you go.
So I'm sure that does not help the situation at all.
No, not at all. So it's yeah, no, and something he did do on accident. We actually know that this is the Restoration and Balance province, so he showed it a little bit earlier on accident. I don't know if Kiseki saw that or not, but um, if Kiseki had actually hit in the Restoration of Balance when he had a lot of cards in his hand, that would have been pretty devastating. Um, so, Kaigen pointing that out as a very pertinent. If Kiseki actually would have hit the Restoration and Balance at any point, he probably would have been in a pretty bad position considering how like if you look at the hands, Kiseki is down to 5 cards. Um, if he'd have hit the Restoration and Balance on turn one or two, he'd have discarded more than 5 cards. So
It, could you
Kiseki's good.
could you explain exactly what that does when you hit a Restoration of Balance for
Yeah,
those of us who don't know?
yeah, absolutely. Restoration of Balance is the Dragon province. It's a 3 province strength, and it has reaction. When revealed, your opponent must discard down to 4 cards. So it's a very big province if your opponent bids high on the first few turns. Um, it can be very devastating if you hit it and have a lot of cards in hand.
Yeah, so as Scorpion, is that something you're thinking about? Like opening bid would like is that a big factor in you're deciding not to go all out and just get up to 9 cards in hand opening turn?
Oh, absolutely. I think just especially on turn one, you've got a 1 in 4 chance of discarding all the cards you just drew. I think it's definitely a consideration to make when you're bidding. Up until you hit the Restoration of Balance, then you've got a little bit more leeway to bid higher if you want to. Oh yeah, here we get to see Kiseki's hand. So he does run the I Can Swim, which is not terribly surprising. Oh, the unassuming Yojimbo would have been pretty rough on the last turn too. So like not this turn, but the next turn, having a covert guy for the stronghold is super powerful. So even if Yukuni had lived and wasn't a 0-0, he probably wouldn't have shown up for the last fight anyway. Um, yeah, that's a pretty potent hand from Kiseki. Court Games is a very powerful card.
What I've learned is he drew like half his conflict deck more than, and every one of his cards was potent.
Yes.
That's what I
No.
learned about
That's.
Scorpion. Every one of their cards is potent.
Yep. It's all gas. It's all gas. Um, it's actually weird. I can't see how many cards he has left in his deck.
I can.
Maybe.
He has 19, so he drew just over half of
Okay.
his
Yep.
conflict
It
deck.
was because I had the HUD off. Whereas Joseki only drew 9 cards from his deck. So you can kind of see some of the card efficiency though. So Joseki drew 9 cards, had 2 of them discarded by Earth, um, and he still had 1 card in hand. So his efficiency was pretty high. Whereas Kiseki saw 21 cards and he's down to 5 left. So they both used a lot of cards, but Joseki's cards were actually, it seems to be much more impactful per card. So you can kind of see like where that comes in, and that's a way to play the game. It's not necessarily that that's how the cards valued themselves, but
Yeah, because I think that's also like a different game if Joseki is a little more greedy on his. Because I think did he bid one to open?
yeah, he bid one
If he bids like
every
three
turn, I believe.
there,
Yep.
if he bids three to open against Scorpion, which I feel like is fairly safe for a Dragon player to do.
Yeah, I think a good moderate bid, turn one is fine. Like I think 3 is fairly moderate. That's totally a valid opening strategy. So I think Joseki totally had a chance. Kiseki saw some really good cards though. Um, but yeah, it was a I think it was a closer game than it looks on face value,
I
personally.
agree.
But
I think
uh,
like Joseki always had lines that he could play that if Koseki just didn't have the answer one time, could have broken it open for him.
oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
Koseki just had answers.
Yep. Yeah, no, that
All
was
right.
a good game. I think we're gonna wrap it up here, unless maybe we could get these guys in to talk about the game, see if they want to do that. Um,
I'm
oh, it
guessing
looks
with
like
the early GG call, it's not super of interest to Joseki.
yeah, probably not. He's not. Doesn't look like he's in the chat either. Um,
Yeah, I know when I call GG, I don't want to talk.
yeah, no, and like I said at the beginning, Scorpion can be fairly MPE, so I don't blame people for. And for those of you that don't know what MPE is, it's negative play experience. So it doesn't necessarily feel very good to lose to them either. Um,
How's it feel winning with Scorpion as someone who's done it a couple times?
it feels good. Like it's not it's not automatic. You do have to work for it. It's not easy to. You don't just like go on autopilot and play stuff. Um, so it feels good. Like like it doesn't feel bad, but I do feel bad for my opponent sometimes because it is very powerful.
So who's since we've got you here and we're seeing what is this like 10 wins for Scorpion, 9 wins for Scorpion out of 10,
Yeah, I think so.
something
Yeah,
unholy.
Scorpion's got a very high win rate in the
Who
Discord tournament so far.
what faction do you not want to see when you sit down at a table after pairings?
That's a tough question. Crab actually has got a pretty good showing. So an interesting fact is Crab and Scorpion are 2 of the more polarized clans as far as stats go. Um, so it's very interesting how that matchup plays because it's hard for them to realistically get in each other's way in any real sense because most of your cards as Scorpion, like most of your dishonor stuff, doesn't really do anything because most of their glory is relatively low, and then like their high military stats are hard for you to stop because your military stats are very very not good. Um, Another one that I'm nervous about is the Scorpion Mirror. Is a very interesting game. I actually played a couple of those tonight. Um, and they're
Way of the
very
Scorpion pulls a lot of weight in that one.
so much weight. It's the best card ever. Oh god, I drew two Way of the Scorpion both times. Both the 2 mirror matches I played. It felt real good. um, but yeah, I'd say Crab can be dangerous. I feel like for a very similar reason, Lion can feel a little bit dangerous. But they're not quite as oppressive as Crab because they do have high glory. So your dishonor tech still works pretty well. Um, but yeah, no, it's Scorpion is definitely very strong. To be perfectly honest, my biggest fear is probably just someone who knows how to navigate Scorpion. So like a player who's played against Scorpion a lot is actually something to fear, because it's a hard clan to play. It's very easy to make mistakes, and the mistakes can be punished pretty hard. So um,
Yeah, that's one thing we talked about kind of before we went live is how much of this is Scorpion just being good, and how much of it is us just not knowing how to play against Scorpion quite yet.
yeah, I think there is a learning curve for both playing as and against Scorpion, and I think the more and more people play, the better that'll look. But
All right, that's all I have. If you don't have anything, we can get out of here.
yep, I think that's about it. Thanks everybody for watching. It was certainly an interesting game, if not a very long one. But
I liked it. It was a good time.
yeah, it
It was
was
everything we hyped it up to be.
hype. All right, see you guys later.